I'm in the heart of Tamil Nadu, one of the 29 states of India, in the southernmost part of the subcontinent. I'm on my way to Auroville, a township about 10 kilometers north of Pondicherry. The township was founded in 1968 on the initiative of a French woman, Mira Alfassa, known here simply as Mother. Auroville is a utopian community based around a search for human unity. The first inhabitants broke with the social and moral conventions of the day and sought to live in harmony and peace, beyond religious and political beliefs, in order to dedicate themselves to inner growth. 50 years later, Auroville is still going strong. About 2,500 people of 52 different nationalities live here, including a good number of French people. Built out of nothing, on a stretch of barren wasteland, the town now covers 20 square kilometers and lies in the shade of a new forest. I want to find out how this utopian project becomes part of Eurovillians' homes and daily lives. Kripa was born and raised in Auroville. Her parents were among the pioneers who left France in 1968 in search of an ideal world. Today, she runs a guest house for visitors and tourists who are curious to discover this unique township. Kripa.
Philippe?
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Same here. It's amazing here. It's hard to believe we're in the middle of a town.
And yet we are. A growing town. Here we're on the edge of the central residential zone.
And tell me, who built this house?
My dad. My folks started a horse farm here, and we used to have lots of horses. But we've gradually turned the stables into guest houses. Most of our construction materials are recycled, in that they come from other buildings. That way we avoid having to cut fresh wood. Let me show you some old photos. They'll give you an idea of the guest house's history.
Now that was here.
Yes, that was the first hut we lived in.
That was really your home?
Sure.
It was totally barren, nothing at all.
Absolutely nothing. Although in these photos, there are some plants and a bit of grass. But before that, it was a desert of red soil.
I see.
I was born in Auroville, my sister too. This is us here.
She's your big sister?
That's right. I was about 4 here, and my sister about 8.
Hey, doggy.
Julien?
Hey, Julien.
Hey, you. Come on. In you go. Just come in.
Thanks.
Welcome to my home. This is the central part.
Central?
The original part. Then it gradually grew with the arrival of the kids.
Really?
Yes.
So it tells the story of your life?
Absolutely.
On discovering Kripa's house, I get a feel for the energy that those first Aurovillians must have needed to make this arid wilderness inhabitable. Hi.
Hi.
I'm Philippe.
Ishan.
Hi, Ishan. So, Ishan, you go to school here?
Yes, we call it transition school. It's for kids aged 7 to 14.
What's interesting here is how you've all managed to reinvent your relationship with space.
That's right. Years and years before there were any actual projects for collective residences, most people who settled here built their own homes. And it was said that it was this first living experience that allowed them to become an integral part of Auroville.
So living no longer means finding a home, but reinventing the way you live among others.
That's central to the development of Auroville. We're individuals within a collective. You have your own job to do as an individual, but you also contribute to the shared objectives of Aurovillian society.
I guess that after 50 years, this utopia has changed a lot.
The word utopia bothers me. That may have been one notion at the outset, but as you just said, we've been living here for 50 years, so it's no longer a utopia, but a reality. As you saw in the photos earlier, this was an arid plateau, but now there's a forest. And this space was meant for a new town to grow. There's a scale model at the visitors centre. We can go see it if you like. It'll give you a better idea of how the plateau was developed.
I think that's an interesting thing.
This one piece will make 52 layers.
Watch on mobile devices or the big screen. All for free. No subscription required.
At the outset, Auroville was just a project. So how did Mira Alfassa and the first inhabitants build a town out of nothing? How did they translate their concept of life and the ideal community into an available space? Kripa explains that the township was planned around a physical and spiritual center, the Matrimandir, a symbol of individual and collective transformation.
Mother worked in partnership with the French architect Roger Anger. She commissioned a plan of the township from him. He called the plan the Galaxy. The centre of Auroville is the Matrimandir, and from there are 4 zones radiating from the centre towards the outside. The residential zone, the cultural zone, the industrial zone, and the international zone.
It's interesting, because utopias like this seem so dated now. The notion of attributing functions to separate large zones corresponds to the spatial thinking of the 1950s, which has pretty much disappeared now. Did the township actually develop like this?
Not according to this plan, no. That doesn't exist, but the plan is nonetheless important for understanding how the town progressed. How you get somewhere is far more important than the actual result. Otherwise, you simply bring in bulldozers, machines, and concrete mixers, and you build a town in the way every other town has been built. But here, it's a human experience that counts.
Yes, and that proves something that's fundamental to me, that a town isn't a perimeter containing an ensemble of things, it's primarily an experience. An individual experience, and at the same time, a collective experience.
Absolutely.
The Visitor Center also puts on demonstrations of innovative construction techniques. Students, researchers, and architects come from the world over to learn alternative ways of building.
Philippe, this building is a good example of the materials we use for construction in Auroville. Those are compressed earth blocks made from laterite clay.
Oh yes, I see.
Compressed earth blocks are great because the material comes from the very spot where you are building.
Biosourcing, using local materials to keep the energy needed for transformation very low, which is very ecological.
Feel the earth. You have a direct contact with the material.
I'm really touchy-feely about materials. I love the sensual pleasure in the contact. What's more, it's beautiful.
I agree.
The innovations produced in earthen architecture are not only technical. Everything that's constructed in Auroville is a combination of the material and the spiritual. This architecture helps the inner self evolve and elevate. An individual approach, but one that serves the collective. So it's not by chance that the Matrimandir, a place for inner focus, was the first edifice to be raised in Auroville. And the entire township grew up around it. It's an absolutely amazing structure.
It is.
Was it constructed by the first inhabitants of Auroville?
Yes, absolutely. The construction of the Matrimandir was an important social event in the history of Auroville.
I guess it helped unite all the men and women who wanted to settle here.
That's right. It's an expression of collectivity. It represents a society, a township. It's about trying to change things altogether, about taking things to a next step in our evolution.
Is the Matrimandir a religious edifice?
Not at all. There's no religion here. It isn't a temple as such. We have no rites, no priests, no clergy, no organizations of any kind. It's a place for contemplation, for getting in touch with your inner self. The Matrimandir is a unifying place and the beating heart of Auroville.
Auroville appears to have embraced great freedom in terms of architectural creativity and expression. In this southernmost part of India, the first inhabitants of the township projected their own concept of ideal architecture, often marked by Western standards.
I'm going to show you this house, which is part of the community called Auroville. It was designed by Roger right at the very beginning.
Okay, one of the first.
One of the first.
They're beautiful houses.
Yes. And this one was the first large house my folks constructed before moving to Charanga, which he visited.
It's marvelous.
Here in Auroville, my mum planted 50,000 trees.
She did?
Yes.
That's amazing. The shapes are astonishing.
Yes. We called them mushroom houses because they have a kind of cap on top.
All right. The unexpected thing is, they're very luxurious villas, which isn't what you'd expect to find within a community lifestyle.
Community doesn't mean equality at all costs in every area, like taste, needs or whatever. And basically, the interiors of these houses are very simple. This one was built in the 1970s, right at the beginning. You live here to be part of the research into the creation of beauty. That's always been key, and it's something that has always been present down the years. It's our guiding principle, producing beauty in every detail. And when you construct a house or finance the construction of one, it doesn't belong to you. We have no deeds of property here.
Okay, so if I build a house with my own money, I can't pass it on to my children or to anyone else?
No, because you're not the owner. You're the sole beneficiary of it and responsible for it. But if you leave Auroville, you can't sell it and leave with the money. However, if you move from here to somewhere else inside Auroville, you can retrieve a certain sum of money to put towards a new home, but it stays inside Auroville.
Abandoning ownership may seem radical, but this approach seeks to rediscover the primary vocation of a home as a place of welcome and hospitality. It also promotes the search for creativity and beauty in their own right, without the ulterior motives of investment and profit. Kripa has told me about a friend of hers, a therapist, who arrived here 5 years ago and decided to make her home out of a shipping container.
Bonjour.
Hello, I'm Philippe.
Welcome. Hi.
Your house is amazing.
Thank you. It is a shipping container, right? The idea is that it's temporary. It's impermanent, like we all are. So it's a way to start the development in this area, to bring presence in a place where it's needed. And yeah, it's just a starting point.
Can we take a look?
Of course, come in.
Go ahead, I'll wait here.
Okay.
So, welcome.
Super.
Fantastic. Did you do all this yourself?
Yes, and it wasn't easy. So the windows were cut out from the container walls and then turned into the walls that separate the rooms inside of the house. These grills were custom designed, so I drew them by hand, and then they were made by metal workers. And there are a lot of small touches. Yeah, I'm a creative person, so.
Was it important for you to redefine your relationship with your habitat?
Yes, it's very much linked to my life in Auroville, my work in Auroville, to be of service and to connect and to research the relationship between inner and outer reality. I see a very close connection. So in everything I do and everything I manifest, every relationship, it's really about exploring this connection between the two. And it's a spiritual journey as well, one with a lot of intention and idea behind it. So to understand myself better in my interactions, in what I create. this is the bedroom, and you'll see in the back that actually the original doors of the container, I've cut them and turned them into a nice window. It's fully green outside, so it's a very cozy setup.
Yeah, it's really cute. And large, too.
Yes, for me it's good, yeah.
Wow.
This is the terrace.
An amazing view. The creativity found in the houses of Auroville is also expressed in the life of its inhabitants. In Prosperity Area, the inhabitants are experimenting with new ways of living together by sharing resources. Kripa takes me to the Solar Kitchen, a community dining hall which is innovative in terms of social and environmental ecology.
Here we are at the Solar Bowl.
Wow, impressive.
It has 1,100 mirrors. It's a system based on resistors. The oil in the resistors is heated by the sun. The hot oil is pumped down, and it heats water for cooking by steam.
You always consider the best ways to fit in with your environment.
Yes. The moment you add the word conscience into what you do, it naturally goes hand in hand with the environment. Everyone takes their shoes off in India, and we do in Auroville too.
Okay, shall I leave them here?
Wherever. Just remember where. Otherwise you'll be looking for ages afterwards.
I think mine are pretty recognizable. As I'm not an Aurovillian, Kripa gives me a lunch ticket for the Solar Kitchen. She explains why.
Here in Auroville Service Zone, no money exchanges hands. You can't pay for your meal with cash.
I pay with the ticket you gave me.
Exactly.
Okay, so I give you the ticket. How many meals a day are served here?
An average of 1,200 meals are cooked here every day.
Wow, that's a lot.
But they're not all eaten in the Solar Kitchen. Some of them are delivered to the schools or to other distribution points.
The idea being that everyone can enjoy this food wherever they are.
Yes, absolutely.
The service is incredible.
I agree. I've been eating here since the beginning. For 18 years, nearly every day.
So you know the menus by heart.
I know them pretty well, yes. That's served with white or brown rice.
The brown rice, please. Thank you. You speak Tamil?
Yes.
Ah.
This is Philippe.
Hello. Pleased to meet you. Well, bon appetit. Eating free of charge is possible for every Aurovillian. It encourages people to meet up and exchange stories about life in this international community. You can hear all kinds of languages, but mainly English and French. There are lots of Westerners here, but what are the relations like between Aurovillians and the local inhabitants?
So actually, inside Auroville, we are, I think, about 52 nationalities staying here. And if you see, almost 50% of the population is Indians, who mostly come from the surrounding villages.
D'accord.
Yeah. So we don't have a boundary such as to separate the village and Auroville. And Auroville is basically around the village, and village is inside Auroville also.
And what has living in Auroville done for you?
I come from a very poor family, which is close to Auroville. And I was adopted when I was about 8 years old, you know. And I was given free education, free staying, everything what I got was free. And what I learned through that, and slowly, gradually, I learned landscaping, and I have a business I do landscaping projects all over South India. And this is something you can't just buy it like that. Right. It was taught to me naturally. And now it's time that I feel like being part of Auroville, I can give back so much back to Auroville, you know. And I think it's my duty. And much more than that, what has been growing inside me, I don't think I would have that kind of value growing inside me if I were somewhere outside in a city or something.
D'accord. After Auroville was founded, a number of experimental practices based on a gift economy were put in place. Some of them are now being trialed in other parts of the world. The Portus Distribution Center, a kind of cooperative supermarket, is one of these experiments. Set up over 10 years ago, it now has 2,000 members. And the particular thing about it is, it runs without money.
See, Philippe, none of the products are priced.
So I see. Have you all done away with money?
No,
Not yet.
not entirely. We're not living in complete autarky yet. We have a system we call maintenance. It's the equivalent of a monthly income per person for work done for the community.
A bit like basic income in the West.
In a way, yes. But here, it's not just a question of a sum of money. A number of services are included too, like the solar kitchen and this cooperative. It may look like a grocery store, but nobody actually buys produce. People take it according to their needs.
So if I've got this right, the people here act according to their basic needs rather than to their immediate desires.
Right. If your basic needs are met, a whole part of yourself relaxes, because you know that at least your food is provided.
Here, people declare what they have taken at the Cashless cash desk. It's a way of increasing your awareness about what you consume, but also about what to leave for others. The township is flourishing. Its population increases by about 100 people a year. New arrivals from all different walks of life blend in with the generations already present and share in what is still close to the original project to make do with what you have now while creating for the future. This is why Kripa and her husband decided to open Cashless, a house reserved for young people aged 16 to 22 looking for a degree of freedom. In Auroville, they learn to self-manage their daily lives, but they also look for ways to develop individual tasks within the collective.
They form teams to cook for the others.
You're cooking for everybody. Isn't it a bit difficult?
Well, the main challenge is inspiration. Choosing a dish we can cook for 15 people. Once we've overcome that, our food is actually pretty good.
Oh, yeah?
Come to dinner tonight if you'd like.
Thanks, but that depends. What's on the menu?
Quiche?
I love quiche. You're sure it's okay for over 22s to come?
Yeah, sure.
Following on from this experience, do you see yourself one day settling in Auroville?
Yeah, as I was born and raised in Auroville, I've got a strong connection to it. So in my distant future, I think I want to come back and live here. But I do want to also go out into the world and explore and see how things are outside of Auroville, because Auroville is like a small bubble, and like you get everything together, but it's still its own. I want to experience more. But it seems like a great place for like a child to grow up or something. So.
I came to Auroville wondering if a utopia could actually exist with no contradictions. As I leave, I realize that 50 years after its founding, what gives Auroville its great vitality is the diversity of viewpoints inside it. It's not all perfect, far from it, but Auroville manages to avoid all forms of categorization because it's an ever-evolving project, an ideal of life founded not on dogma, but on experiments that are feasible. A tangible utopia, then, inhabited on a daily basis. And this enables people to live together and work on a shared project. My name is Philippe. I'm a philosopher, and I'm interested in how architecture shapes and defines our lifestyles. I'm taking you with me to explore some of the most unusual living environments on the planet, to better understand what's behind them and share what they have to offer. I'm in southern Chile, 1,000 kilometers from the capital, Santiago. I'm on my way to the Chiloé archipelago, a group of 44 islands. The largest measures 8,400 square kilometers and is home to 150,000 people. The island's vast primary forests enabled its inhabitants to develop remarkable woodworking skills. Today, Chiloé is famous for its wooden boats, houses, and churches, 16 of which are UNESCO World Heritage Sites. But beyond its practical uses, wood has given rise to a collaborative ethos. For the Chilotes, who have a long history of isolation and poverty, this is manifested in the Minga, a system of mutual aid between neighbors when building a new house or moving to another part of the island. This practice also involves great ceremonies to which the Chilotes are very attached. I'm hoping to understand the meaning of this truly unique tradition. A single road leads to San Juan, a village some 30 kilometers from Castro, Chiloé's capital. This typical village of fishermen and carpenters, set between land and sea, is a tranquil spot where time seems to have stood still.
Bonjour, Philippe. Hola.
Armando, who is passionate about the island's history, is going to teach me all about Chiloé's wood culture.
Hello, Philippe. It's great to meet you. Welcome to Chiloé.
Thank you. It was a long journey.
Chiloé is a long way, but it is worth it.
I'm sure it is. I've just been admiring this wonderful church.
It's very big. It's one of 16 churches on the island to have been designated as World Heritage Sites by UNESCO. It was built in 1875.
And what's remarkable is it's made entirely of wood.
This church is over 30 meters long and 15 meters wide. It was built with the island's finest species of trees. We use wood for everything here. Our houses, our boats. You could say it was fundamental to the island's development. So much so that here in Chiloé, we speak of wood culture. San Juan is a typical village because all the houses are built around one spot, always around the church. Here, Philippe, this is my home, a traditional Chilote house.
Ah, yes, very beautiful. Everything is made of wood. I love this frame here with the cladding next to it. It's really beautiful.
The houses of my village, here in San Juan, are entirely covered with larch tiles, just like mine.
I see.
Everything is made of larch, because it lasts so long. The shape of the windows, with these small panes, is also typical of Chiloé's architecture. You see, one tile covers two.
All right.
The water can't get in.
Like fish scales.
Precisely. Like the scales of a fish. It's the same thing. Thanks to this, the houses are well insulated and very warm. Cold and damp can't get in. Please, come in, come in. Philippe, meet my wife, Doris.
Hello. Hello, Doris. Thank you for having me. It's very warm and inviting, this room, around the stove.
It's a very important place where the whole family gets together to chat. Parents, children, grandparents, grandchildren. We all sit and share a moment together. Armando plays the accordion and we sing. It's a very special place on Chiloé.
But family doesn't just mean people who share the same name. Our neighbors and friends are part of our family as well.
The houses here are a collective endeavor.
There is a collective system, a system of solidarity, whereby neighbors help each other. It's what we call the Minga.
I see.
This house, for instance.
Your home?
Yes, we built this house thanks to a Minga.
It doesn't only apply to building homes. Sometimes it's to build, sometimes it's to help in the fields or to gather firewood for winter.
Another aspect of Chiloé's traditional Mingas is moving house. Sometimes they aren't in the best spot, not always where we would like, so we move them to a better spot. For instance, closer to a path or to the sea, when we're too isolated up in the mountain. The house next door, you see it? Was transported by sea and land thanks to a Minga.
I see. But why move houses instead of building new ones?
Let me ask you this. Would anyone ever dream of abandoning a child? A home is like a child. It's where the children are born, where they grow up, where the family is built. So we couldn't buy a house that was totally devoid of atmosphere and not the heart of the family.
Arising in the 19th century, the Minga was still widespread in the 20th century. It enabled villagers to meet and pass on know-how. And it was where the Chilote community's values could be reaffirmed. But with the introduction of machines and new construction materials, the need to help each other has disappeared and the Minga is gradually dying. Freddie finds this regrettable. He lives in the neighborhood of Gamboa, home to stilted fishermen's houses built in the 1940s during the rural exodus, when landless peasants turned to the sea to survive. Without the spirit of the Minga, this neighborhood wouldn't even exist.
Hello, Freddie. Can we come in?
Hello, I'm Philippe. Hello. Oh, what an extraordinary sight. Are there many palafitos like this on Chiloé?
There are quite a few palafitos, but only 7 or 8 are actually lived in by locals. The others have been sold. They're hotels, restaurants. I've lived here for 65 years. I was born on this island. Life was different then.
How did people used to live?
Let me show you some old photos. This was taken in the 1980s. It's the house we used to live in. There are all the boats and nets.
They're real fishermen's houses. It's changed a lot. And this, who's this? You?
Yeah, that's me.
All right.
Come on. I'll take you out on the water to see the palafitos.
Where? Down there? I've got to climb down there?
Just do what I do.
Okay, it's a real climb. Okay, I'm coming down.
I don't know if you're going to fall, but in any case, it's the only way down.
I go out with Freddie in his boat to see the seafront while Armando makes the most of the deck. Truly beautiful.
When I get up in the morning, the first thing I do is look at the sea. It's priceless. My house burned down 6 years ago. It was razed to the ground, totally gutted. I was on the streets, as they say. It was in ruins. And then all the neighbors set to work rebuilding it, like a human machine.
I get the impression that solidarity is really at the heart of island life.
One day, a car stopped outside. We were busy working on the house. It was a van that had brought 20 wooden beams. They said, "Is this Freddy's house that burned down?" I said it was. They said to me, "We've brought you some beams so you can rebuild your house." It brought tears to my eyes. It's true. When I think about it, I said no. Do you know what they said? They said, "Come unload these beams before we whack you with them." That's the Minga. It's non-financial help. It has nothing to do with money. The real sense of friendship is typical of the Chilotes. Everyone here is like that. Look, this is what I'm talking about. That house burned down. The two people working on it are neighbors. They live in the house next door. There you go. I don't need to tell you about it. It's visible. You can see it for yourself.
Listening to Freddie, I realized just how central solidarity is to the Chilotes' lives. It might be informal, but it's also highly organized and gives rise to an important ceremony. Armando told me there was going to be a Minga on a neighboring island, at his friend Arcadio's place. In the past, large houses were moved several kilometers, but these days, it's only short distances. In a few days, Arcadio will move his shepherd's hut so he can have a view of the sea and the mountains. But first, he has to get the house ready.
Hello.
Hola. Bonjour,
I'm Philippe.
Oh, bienvenido.
Welcome. Good to meet you.
Hello, Arcadio.
Hello, Arcadio. Welcome.
So this is the house for the Minga.
Yes, this is the house we're going to move during the Minga. There are a few things left to sort out.
And is there work to be done inside?
Yeah, we have to reposition a few tiles and remove the windows. That's all. Do you want to come see?
It's beautiful. I'd love to see it. It's incredible. There's nothing left. Just the frame and the wood cladding. Even the flooring has been removed.
You have to remove as much as possible and just leave the structure. The idea is to break nothing and then put everything back in place. As you can see, we've removed the floorboards, the paneling, the furniture. All that's left is the basic structure.
Is the idea to make it as light as possible so you can transport it?
Yes. It's important to remove everything for the move, because we don't actually know if we'll manage, if the oxen will be able to take the weight.
If the house will take it.
Yes, the house could break too.
Is there still a fair amount to do?
We just have to put the tiles up there, a line of tiles. You want to help me?
Sure. Let's get to it. I'll get it. These little nails are hard to get out. These houses are designed to be moved several times in a lifetime. Shall I put it here? Out of necessity, Chiloé's carpenters made sure they were easy to dismantle. With the sea there and the Andes in the distance, it's sublime.
Look, being Chilote means everything to me. Living in this environment, living on an island, with all our culture, all our distinctive characteristics. This life we've created for ourselves is part of us. It enables us to improve our everyday life, to go further. It unites us. It keeps us alive. And it gives us the energy to go on working. For me, being Chilote is everything. It's so much more than simply living in this place.
On the island, the impact of Chiloé's wood culture goes far beyond housing. Before the Minga starts, I meet up with Armando on the edge of one of the island's primary forests to learn how nature has shaped the Chilote's identity. Armando, was Chiloé's wood culture born in these forests?
Yes, it's thanks to these trees that we have survived, and that life has developed since the first settlers came to Chiloé archipelago.
Forests cover 67% of Chiloé's land area. But since the first settlers arrived in 1550, the island has lost over 40% of its forest cover. Have there been deforestation-related disasters here on Chiloé?
When there were few islanders, logging didn't pose a problem. There was a balance, a harmony. But over time, and with the increase in the archipelago's population, the forests have been overexploited. This is a crucial moment in the life of Chiloé's forests.
No more forest means no more wood culture either.
We certainly don't want that to happen. What will we do then? We wouldn't be able to build anything. Metal and cement have no place here on the island.
On Chiloé, the bond with the forest is so strong that it has penetrated the islanders' beliefs and spirituality. In their collective imagination, these forests are inhabited by mythological creatures. On Chiloé, do you think you're protected by the trees?
The tree is like a friend. It's possible many of the beliefs we have in the Chiloé archipelago stem from this. Setting reality aside, we believe other creatures live together in the forest. They look after us and the trees. This is true of the trauco, whose task is to count the forest's trees every morning with his stone axe.
The trauco.
The trauco, yes. This being resembles a very small person with a grotesque appearance. Yet it commands respect. It is here to scare off anyone who comes with bad intentions. Its task is to protect and take care of our forests. That is why I was telling you earlier that Chiloé's cultural and natural heritage are one and the same. When we harm nature, the environment, the forests, we also destroy much of our way of life, our beliefs and traditions.
The day of the Minga has finally arrived. It's a real privilege for me to witness this ceremony, as it is rarely performed on the island these days. Arcadio.
Hey, hello, Philippe. Come here.
How are you?
It's great to see you.
This is the big day, right?
Yep, the big day is here. We're getting the fire ready for the curanto.
Curanto is a typical Chilate dish of seafood, meat, and potatoes steamed together. It is served at every Minga to all the participants to thank them for their help.
At the Mingas of the past, people didn't have utensils or bowls. So it was more practical to dig a hole in the ground, put all the ingredients in it, and eat directly from there.
People have come from all over the archipelago to attend the event. Fantastic. We're in the thick of the smoke. It's awesome. It's impressive, huh? Young and old mingle at this festive, collective gathering where the Chilate identity is proudly displayed. So whatever the purpose of a Minga, is it always primarily a question of hospitality and solidarity?
Helping one another was a necessity in a poor region like this. All you had to offer was assistance to a neighbor in need. Thanks to the Minga, people could live and meet their basic needs. Later, it became a sort of institution, but it arose from the need to survive.
With the curanto finished, the Minga begins. There's a fair amount of excitement around the house.
Careful. Watch out. Move back a bit. Give us some more room. Don't scare the oxen.
Que lo pasen más, que lo pasen. ¡Yo, Tessa, eja! ¡Viva Chiloé!
Muy bien. Bravo. Congratulations, Arcadio.
Thank you.
Congratulations. The house has only been moved 100 meters or so, just so that its occupant can enjoy a gorgeous view of the sea and mountains, and for the sheer pleasure of holding a Minga.
Here it doesn't matter. It has never mattered if one person has more than another. What's important for community life is to be better people and to better help others. We pray that this valuable heritage of our ancestors never dies. We can probably continue to grow, but Chiloé must always be Chiloé, because it's the Minga that represents the true unity and development of the Chilote people.
Listening to Armando, I realized the Minga is no longer about economic necessity. It is just a symbol nowadays, but a symbol in which the Chilotes see what they were and what they would still like to be, a community whose core values are solidarity and hospitality. At a time when most societies have become inward-looking and have turned their homes into bastions of ultra-private life, the people of Chiloé are a reminder that true living is about living together. Okay, here goes.
Watch your fingers. Be careful. Excellent. A real pro. A good Chilote carpenter.